Hello and welcome to Energy Frontiers, and we say thank you to the African Energy Chamber for their support of the show. I am Justina Okechukwu. Now let's get started with some of the biggest energy news from here in Africa and around the world. Russia has announced a temporary ban on diesel and gasoline exports to all countries outside the Eurasian Economic Union in order to stabilize prices in the domestic fuel market by helping to increase supply. Following this decree, oil prices climbed slightly higher on Friday, with Brent crude futures for November delivery up 0.2% to $93.51, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 0.3% to $89.86 a barrel. The United Kingdom has pushed back by 5 years a plan to achieve a net zero carbon emissions by 2050, an extended deadline on the ban of petrol and diesel cars by 2035. In a statement by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, he explains that the move was due to an increase in the upfront cost for families, and as such, the country will now take a more realistic approach to reaching its net zero targets. Now, Goldman Sachs has raised its 12-month forecast for global benchmark Brent oil to $100 a barrel from $93 and now expects to see modestly sharper inventory draws. The U.S. investment banker explains that the key reason behind the change is that significantly lower OPEC supply and higher demand more than offset a much higher U.S. supply. Invictus Energy, an Africa-focused independent oil and gas company, says it has raised 15 million Australian dollars through a two-tranche placement from new and existing investors. The Australian-listed explorer stated that the funds will be used for drilling of the Mukuyu-2 well in Zimbabwe and provide further working capital for the company. The Egyptian cabinet has approved a draft law authorizing the Ministry of Petroleum to sign a contract with Luke Oil Overseas Egypt Limited and the Egyptian General Petroleum Corporation for oil discovery, development, and exploitation in the West Ish El Milaha area in the Eastern Deserts. The 5th edition of the Tanzania Energy Congress 2023 was held during the week in Dar es Salaam, and it highlighted key topics across LNG negotiations, pipeline projects, gas exploration, and renewable energy ventures in the East African country. With about 900 delegates, exhibiting companies and government and industry experts in attendance, the Congress looks to build up possible pathways to realize the country's energy ambition. And that was a snapshot of your energy news headlines. When we return, we place a spotlight on the 10th edition of the Nigerian Energy Exhibition and Conference held in the week just ended. We'll be right back. This is Energy Frontiers. Now, the Nigerian government is advancing its power sector through various measures and says it is working to increase the country's installed power generation capacity to 30,000 megawatts by 2030 through a combination of public and private sector investment. At the 10th edition of the Nigeria Energy Exhibition and Conference, which was held in Lagos, Nigeria, key stakeholders from Nigeria's energy sector came together to discuss ways to unlock new value with reforms, investments, and technologies to aid the development of reliable power solutions and pave the way for a decentralization. Frontier Africa Reports was on the ground at the Nigerian Energy Leadership Summit and sent this in.
So for us, a lot of the things that we're doing is collaborating and leveraging on the existing strategies of the group because of the fact that we can't afford some of this. But the reality is we can't ignore it. So I'll talk about the Act. The Act emphasizes the need to include renewables, for example, as a mix. And that directly impacts unserved, underserved areas. So it's a good mix to have. It also helps, of course, reduce the emission carbon targets. We have customers today who it is critical for them, it's part of their target. They have to have that mix. So that way, whether we like it or not, as a responsible organization, we have to create those options also for our customers. What we are focusing on in Ikeja Electric is partnerships. So we've redesigned our model, and we understand the importance of having this off-grid solution mixed to the on-grid solutions. And we've started that engagement. We have several developers we've spoken to with the different options so that we can achieve that objective.
When you talk about regulatory, because I also want to move fast, aside the sector-specific regulatory issues, right? If I were to be an investor, forget the fact that I'm a disco on the seat, I'm looking into, and as a business owner also, it's not just an investor. I also want to have a level of certainty as it relates to regulatory framework, policies, even macroeconomic stability. I want to be able to predict it. We all know the way things are right now. We know the way inflation is and Forex. And our market is driven by Forex. Why? Because right now we have like about 80% thermal generated power, powered by gas that is priced in dollars, but paid for in Naira. So while you're paying for it in Naira, you're converting, Forex is shooting it up. And guess what? Clean energy we're talking, right? But the hydros will tell you, Forex affects me. And you're like, why? How? You don't use gas. But they tell you their concession price is denominated in dollars. So at the end of the day, by the time you're talking Forex, you're talking about affecting the different chains, right? So that again now leads you to liquidity issues. I'm not able to charge what I'm supposed to charge. Right now, my gen cost has more than doubled. We are still struggling and grappling with our average gen cost. And I must actually, we must give kudos to our regulators right now for, taking our time to see how they can ease the burden a little bit for the discos by adjusting our MRO recently and all of that. But we need more because we are more or less like struggling and all of that. And when you're talking clean energy, you're also talking about the financing. The CAPEX aspect of it is what we shouldn't even take our eyes off. Are there grants available? Are there incentives available, right? These are conversations we need to be having.
If I will answer you with one single word, then I will say the potentials are very huge. The potentials are huge because all around us, we see activities that we could do. We see projects that we can develop that can either fit into the compliance market or the voluntary carbon market. But voluntary carbon market much more because this is the low-hanging fruit if you look at the way our country is. And for a country as big as Nigeria with this population and this land mass, there are lots of things. And because we are also one of the countries that you will tag you call it developing country, but there are a lot of things that are happening at the same time in different sectors. If you pick the energy space, for example, and you decide to look at the residential, you realize that even as we speak presently, we still have a high percentage of people who are still using traditional cooking, using biomass, cutting trees. If only we just say, can we focus on these cook stoves and go into efficient type of cooking stoves? Either you go by the pathway of using gas, which is one of the things that my friend would like me to say, using gas, or even efficiently using the biomass. Then you will have reduced that deforestation. And by that singular act, if you will incentivize that activity through the voluntary carbon market and get people to be able to come into this space, put up an industry together to be able to do these cook stoves, we will have done quite a lot.
I'm sure we are all aware that gas is seen as the crutch for transitioning from low-power fuels, diesel, petrol, to the renewables. And I'm sure we are also aware that Nigeria has the largest deposit in Africa currently proven reserves. That is not the ones that have not been discovered yet. So the organization I work for, Gas Aggregation Company Nigeria Limited, is furnished with the responsibility of driving domestic gas use in country. I also know, I don't know if everybody here is aware, that over 70% of the power generated for public use is generated by thermal power plants that use gas. So first, we need to drive that up because currently we are averaging around 5,000 megawatts, which is, I don't know the percentage of that if you want to compare it to the needs of the country. Then driving it down to Africa, the whole continent is suffering from underdevelopment because of this lack of energy. So the advocation is that Africa, Nigeria in particular, should harness this source of power, right? This cleanest source, quote unquote, of the fossil fuels to drive that industrialization. And Mr. Guli, as if you read my mind, he mentioned efficiency. I believe that apart from using gas, so that we meet compliance, is to make sure that the use of gas also meets, that we don't fall afoul of the compliance that he has also mentioned about. Now, coming to technology, as I mentioned, awareness, I believe now, I'm sure all of us here can purchase food, book an Uber ride, all from our phones. I think it has gotten to the point that the voluntary market should have some sort of interface.
In the meantime, solar energy in Africa is increasingly gaining significant attention as a promising solution to addressing the region's energy challenges and contributing to sustainable development. One organization that is championing this conversation is International Solar Alliance, an organization with 116 members and signatory countries around the world, including Africa. AJ Mator is the Director General of the International Solar Alliance, and it tells me how the ISA is intervening in Africa's renewable energy space.
Now, let's dig right in. Tell me a bit more about the International Solar Alliance and how you are intervening in Africa's renewable energy space.
You know, at the Paris COP in 2015, it was absolutely clear that the world needed to move away from fossil fuels. And what India and France did was, instead of preaching, they said, okay, let's see how we can make this helpful, and created the International Solar Alliance there. It was launched in 2018. It was announced at Paris, but it was launched in 2018 when the 40 countries who were required to sign off actually did so. Since then, one of our areas of major focus has been Africa. What is our goal? Very simply, to make solar the energy of your choice. Obviously, cost is important, but so is convenience. So is the ability to draw on it as and when needed. We therefore work on creating the kind of information that our users need, including political leadership. We work on enabling projects to understand the kinds of benefits, creates jobs, provides electricity to people who never had it, reduces the amount of energy that would otherwise be drawn into the system. Here and now benefits. And obviously, with solar, the big advantage is there are no carbon emissions at all. So, by giving these benefits, we help countries to develop the kinds of large-scale programs, the policies, the regulations that can bring in investment into the solar sector. And finally, we work on enabling financing. We are not a financing agency, but to make sure that countries have access to affordable finance, we look at this as our mandate. So those are the kinds of things that we work on. And as far as Africa is concerned, there are two key challenges that bother us. The first is, while there's a huge amount of money being invested in solar globally, 70% of it is going to the OECD countries in China. Just 3% comes to all of Africa. And the second is, even the money that comes is largely for large solar projects. It's not for solar rooftops, it's not for solar pumps, it's not for solar cold storages. So, in other words, what impacts you and I is not even covered in that financing. And that's the second goal that we seek to achieve.
Now, let's talk about your recent meeting in Kigali. What were the key outcomes of your that meeting recently held in Rwanda?
So, this is largely around the fourth thing that I talked about, which is enabling financing. How do you get financing? You see, I told you about the fact that just 3% of the monies that is invested in solar globally comes to Africa. So we talked to a large number of investors, over 100 of them. One of the things we figured out was that they were uncomfortable about the confidence that they would get returns on their investments. But this is a perceived risk because across Africa, the number of solar loans that have not repaid themselves is less than 2%. But there's already a 6% premium on investment in Africa. So we look at this as a perceived problem. And therefore, what we have launched is for Africa, a guarantee fund. So an investor comes in, he buys the guarantee, and then if he doesn't get repaid in time, we meet part of the repayment. And then as he gets it back, he pays back this facility. So what this enables is for the investor to gain the confidence that he or she can invest safely in Africa. So that was the first thing on which we got very strong support from all our African members who were there at Kigali. The second is, okay, this money is available, how will we use it? So what we also did was look at identifying startups, African startups, who could be the users of this money. So we did a competition, 180 startups applied. We finally identified 20 of them who were announced at Kigali. And these 20 African solar startups do everything from providing you and I with solar panels on the roof, to setting up large solar farms, to providing batteries, to providing kiosks running on solar energy, which people can take to the market, all kinds of useful stuff which would help solar become part of our lives. There were lots of other issues that were discussed which were very much in the nature of official business. But these are the two initiatives that we launched, and I must say I was delighted at the response that we got from the African ministers.
Coming up, the countdown to Africa's foremost energy conference, African Energy Week 2023, has begun. More on this in a moment.
Hello, I'm the Executive Chair of the African Energy Chamber. I want to ask you to join me and thousands of other energy professionals across Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and America at the African Energy Week in Cape Town, South Africa, from October 16th to the 20th. This event is going to feature top-notch leaders, speakers, government leaders, industry leaders, and Africa's energy players. You are going to listen to experts and decision makers on the most pressing issues affecting our industry today. Be part of an African energy renaissance, a movement that is committed to ending energy poverty in Africa and unleashing its full potential when it comes to energy growth and energy dominance. Let us join together and learn how to harness the power of innovation, technology, collaboration, to create a more sustainable and prosperous future for all Africans. You can help shape that future for Africa. Register now and get ready for an unforgettable experience. Our time is now.
Welcome back to the program. Now, the city of Cape Town, South Africa is set to host Africa's foremost energy conference, the African Energy Week 2023, where government officials, global investors, energy experts, and top-tier executives will converge for 5 days of intense dialogue and thought-provoking panel discussions on the future of the African energy industry. In this second part interview with Thomas Habashu, International Conference Director at the African Energy Chamber, we get a fuller picture of what to expect from this year's high-profile summit due on October 16 to 20. Now, Thomas, let's talk about the Africa Energy Week Awards. Any idea who will be standing up for honors?
Unfortunately, no. This has become a great staple for African Energy Week. It's a very much awaited event, a beautiful dinner that we will host for the third year in a row, where we can celebrate Africa's achievements. So the only thing I can already announce, naturally, is what we have announced already, that President Macky Sall will be receiving the Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo Lifetime Achievement Award. There will be other 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards that we haven't announced yet, but other key categories would be CEO of the Year, NOC of the Year, Gas Monetization Project of the Year. Like I mentioned, gas is a strong focus for us. ESG Leader, we believe this is also a very interesting award. Media Award of the Year. This is a new one that we wish to celebrate as well, the amazing work people like you are doing all over the country, the continent, to promote energy, to support the development of energy projects throughout the event, throughout the year. So yeah, unfortunately, we haven't announced our nominees yet. They will be out soon, but this one should be an amazing night. Hope you can join us.
Right. While we wait for that big announcement in October, so what are the expectations around the deal room? I know that the Afrexim Bank will be having a deal room, and then the African Farm Out Forum at the AEW 2023.
Absolutely. This is a fantastic initiative at Afrexim Bank, is to create a dedicated platform throughout the full week of events, where we can discuss concrete bankable projects that can be presented in detail toward in face of clear financiers, clear potential partners, clear enablers such as governments and agencies, so that you can go out from those presentations with concrete actions on how to move forward energy projects. Like I mentioned before, our key mandate through our partnership with Afrexim Bank is the promotion of concrete financeable projects. And thus here we generate a platform where companies, agencies, governments can present real projects that are in need of partners, that are in need of financing options, and they can leave the event already with a fixed step on how to move forward, with a clear partner on how to move forward. An example of this would be the Angolan National Petroleum, Gas and Biofuels Agency will be continuing its 2023 onshore bid round. So there will be a special event where the AMPG will continue to showcase their onshore blocks in search of new partners to enter the market. And as you mentioned, another part would be the Africa Farm Out Forum. So for this, this is also a new initiative by AEW, partnering with companies such as Moyes & Co., Envoy, and Farm Out Angel. So these will present as well a platform for companies and governments to come and showcase specific farm out projects that are in need of partners that can move forward fast. So this would be a sort of matchmaking event where companies will have 7-8 minutes to present their pitch, and then we can move out to side negotiations quickly. As I mentioned, the idea is to facilitate continuous engagement in the energy sector and provide a platform for concrete developments, concrete deal-making strategies coming out from the event. So this is a great initiative, and as well, I invite everyone to participate actively in it.
Right. Now, one particular event that I'm looking forward to and I was most fascinated about is the Education Scholarship Fund. What is the Chamber looking to achieve from this?
This is a beautiful initiative by the Chamber. The Chamber mandate itself focuses a lot on the training and development of skills. We have done that through many training programs, many internship programs as well within the Chamber. the promotion of youth is a strong element of the chamber ethos as developed by our chairman NJ Ayuk. And this is just one more example of that. So the fund will cover 8 African students focusing on energy related issues that are on the undergraduate stage. Sorry about that. So we'll provide a fund between $5,000 and $10,000 within key educational institutions that will partner with us. We will announce the winner of those of the funds during AEW. We just finished now the sign up process up to August 31st, and those winners as well will participate within the youth forum in AEW. Since the beginning, we have a dedicated space for the discussion of youth in energy. In the energy sector, the chamber is a strong promoter of generational change, of active involvement of the youth within the energy sector, as we believe this is the key catalyzer as well for not only retaining talent within the continent, but also as well for the strengthening of the socioeconomical processes that energy projects can have within different markets. If we don't have the youth being involved in these markets, in these projects, all those resources, all those profits as well will go overseas, and that's not what we want. We want to create a strong base of young entrepreneurs, of young professionals that can benefit from these processes and that can assist in more indigenous developments in the future energy industry. So this is amazing as well. So we're really excited as well for the announcement of the winners and for to see how this project will evolve.
Now, the 25 under 40 Energy Women Rising Initiative sounds really interesting. Tell me more about that.
This is, thank you very much for that question. This is also a great initiative by the chamber, and something that also strikes within the backbone of what the chamber aims to the change that the chamber aims to promote within the energy sector. Both youth and women are essential pieces for the change, for the updating, for the future of the energy sector. So with this project, what we aim to do is to celebrate fantastic professionals through the energy sector that can serve as examples, as mentors, as inspirers of a new generation of women that can help revamp a traditionally male-dominated industry. Key professionals that I have the pleasure of working with, such as Oneika Ojokwo from Centurion Law, Anin Kilian from Energy Capital and Power, Taimi Tembu from ExxonMobil Namibia, Moningwa Shabwanale from Recon Africa. As well have been, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with them and to grow with them, to learn from them, throughout these many years that I have the pleasure of seeing them, grow, seeing them set the example as well on how, female professionals can develop, can build niches, can build, new processes, new outlooks on how the energy industry has to develop. And it's been it's an exciting initiative by the chamber to promote, to support, and to celebrate these professionals in their endeavors as well, on how they will grow and how they will help revamp the energy industry throughout Africa, as we have seen that the future of the industry in the continent will only happen with women actively involved in it, or it will not happen.
And that's how we wrap up the show for you this week. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to follow the program on Frontier Africa Reports website, subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us across all our social media handles as indicated on the screen. I am Justina Okechukwu. I'll see you again.